indeed, the top administration makes some noises about withdrawing from the climate agreement. They're potentially triggering the process. But actually, if you look around in the United States, look at corporations, look at states, big cities, they are fully committed, even more so, I would say, to the Paris Agreement than before, because I think the global economy is seeing a real opportunity in a shifted energy system. I think they're realizing that climate change is a long-term threat for their business, and they want to be part of the solution.
There are so many examples. I think we see a lot of leadership coming from the usual places like New York, like California, from progressive companies. But what we also see, and this is maybe even more surprising, is that a deployment of renewable energy in places like Iowa or Texas, where we don't expect to see climate leadership. Actually, these are places where the economics and the case for climate action are just so strong that ambition is emerging in places you might not even expect.
I would not go to the extent of saying that there's a declining interest in other countries, but there's definitely a lot more appreciation of the challenges of meeting the commitments that there are. So I think it is critically important that the means of implementation that we talk about, especially for developing countries, are honored. One, of course, is the $100 billion climate fund that had to be put in place. We haven't reached that, and this was an annual commitment which has to be met. So that is, I think, critically important. Second has to do with technology transfer. Third has to do with capacity building efforts. And thus far we have limited our capacity building only to looking at defining projects that have to be implemented that will result in mitigation. Whereas capacity building has to take a much broader definition that will include creating the entire enabling framework, include looking at financial institutions, at governance mechanisms, at creating an awareness. So capacity building has to be looked at a much broader level than just creating the capacity for developing one project proposal. Once that is done and the trust is rebuilt in the whole process, I think we can expect to see a willingness to ratchet up commitments rather than move back from the existing commitments.
I mean, land use, for instance, is incredibly important. Soil degradation is something that has been undervalued, and we need to pay more attention to make sure that the carbon content in soil is at a higher level, or at least at the same level. So the first step is to have more ambitious targets by governments, by national countries, and then after 2025 we really need to make big cuts.
Now they are in some preparatory phase till more faster and more radical achievement of Paris goals. Next 10 years is too difficult to arrange labor sharing, to arrange fluxes of labor of people, or to remove people from coal regions to some other regions. Therefore, it's anyway preparatory phase. But after 2025 or 2030, it's unavoidably will be a more faster phase.